What's going on, Infected? It's Wolf with the Quarantine, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a game that's coming to Kickstarter by the name of So Long My World. So Long My World is a game where humanity as a whole is just going to be wiped out. All trace that humans ever existed will cease to exist at midnight. So you have one final day to live your life. So it winds up being part kind of morally, how are you going to do things? Are you going to abandon your children to go do these things? Are you going to stab people? Are you going to do this? But it's also part set collecting game, trying to amass and try to be as the nicest person, or the meanest person for that matter, as you can in your final moments. Now, it needs to be stated, as usual, of course, this is a Kickstarter prototype of the game, so what you see here is, of course, going to be subject to change. Alright, and this is basically So Long My World set up and ready to go. Now I need to mention, like I said earlier, of course, these are Kickstarter components. But I'm also not going to be teaching too much how to play here. I'll have a link up here in the corner that'll actually take you to the tutorial that I'm going to be making. That'll teach you all of the rules on how to play the game. This is just meant to give you a general idea. Now, the goal of the game is to kind of collect these tokens and play cards. Now you have three different types of tokens. You have the green and blue here, and these are good. Then you have the red and black, which I don't know if you can see real well there. The red and black, and these are effectively bad. And then you have a neutral token here. And what you're going to be doing is you're trying to get victory points that you see right here. For all intent and purpose, this is the symbol for a victory point. Now, what you're going to be doing throughout the course of the game is you're going to be playing cards. So in order to play this card, I need 2 of these green tokens in order to play this one. And in the beginning of the game, you're going to be able to choose one of the tokens that you want. So the first thing you're going to do is whoever has the first player token that you see here is going to draw an event off the top of the deck, and you're just going to resolve it. It's going to have some text here, and then you're going to have all the locations that you deal out randomly, and it's going to tell you what tokens go where. So in this case, we're going to get a black here, we're going to get a blue here, and a red here. Then you move over to the choice phase. Now what you're going to do is you have one token for every one of the locations that you randomly shuffle and put out here. So you're going to look through these and decide where you want to go. And so let's just, for all intent and purpose, let's just say I go here. I'm going to take this and put it face down in front of you. And once everybody's chosen theirs, you're going to reveal it. And the final product, from what I understand, is going to have a player color around the edge, so you can take your token and put it where you're at. Because some cards will talk about adjacent cards and stuff like that. So I'm going to go here is once we reveal. Now what you're going to do is you're going to do the text on the card. So in this case it says I can remove a remnant card, which are these. You can remove a remnant card to gain the same feeling as its cost. So if I had, what that means, if I had played this, for example, earlier on, and maybe it's not giving me points, or maybe I really need these to play a more strong card, or whatever, I can then take this card from in front of me and I can trash it, which will make a little more sense later. Could be a very handy ability depending on the circumstance. Then you're going to do one of 4 actions. So those actions are, you can take 2 tokens that are on the card. So in this case there's only 1, so later on if there were multiple tokens, you could take these 2 and then add them to your supply rather than, the global supply. The next action you could do is you can drain. So if we look at the card here, and what I can do is I could just take one of this symbol that you see down at the bottom. I can take 1 token from the global supply, so in that case it is a black token. I can add it to my supply, and that's it. Next thing you can do is you can gain a mark of soul that you see here off screen. These are often used to activate certain abilities, kind of stuff like that. And then the last thing you can do is you can instead draw 2 remnant cards, and you can add those to your hand. Now, once you've done that, and everybody's done their actions, and you're going to go clockwise, because we're respectable people, from the first player marker, everybody's done theirs, then you move on to the remnant phase, and that's when you're going to spend these tokens to play these cards. Now, unless the card says otherwise, any effects on them happen immediately, and then that's it. But when you play a card, so let's say I was able to play hate. I could take this, put it in front of me, I do what it says, I pay my 2, maybe I had 2 red here. So I pay those back to the bank, and I activate its ability. but because it shows a victory point symbol, it's going to stay in front of me. And no matter what, even if it's like the starting cards like this, it's still going to stay in front of you. So maybe I also play this, and maybe I play this later. You know, so throughout the course of the game, you're going to have numerous cards in front of you. And that's where Death's Drive comes into play. Because at the end of the game, all the cards in front of you, you're going to check what status they are. So in this case, you have one blue and one black, so this would be considered a neutral card, because this is remembering that blue and green are good and black and red are bad. This has one good, one bad, so this would be a neutral card. This would be a good card. And so you're going to divide your cards up. This would be, you know, a bad card. So you're going to divide those up like this. This is a good card because it's got one good and one neutral, so it's majority good. It's a good card. So if I had all of these cards down in front of me, I have 4 good, 1 neutral, 2 bad. If all of them were good or all of them were bad, then you're going to get some bonus points. But in this case, because I got kind of a mishmash, I do have a majority good, but I have a mishmash, I'm not going to get any extra points. But you're going to add up who has the most victory points, and whoever has the most is going to be declared the winner. Now there are a couple things I haven't mentioned yet. You have some cards that have this little clock symbol here. Now for all intent and purpose for any of you Magic the Gathering players, this is pretty much played as an instant, effectively. But there are a couple places throughout the course of the game, usually right before the choice phase and right before the remnant phase, you're allowed to place these, and it usually changes some of the outcomes. But they're played as though they were an instant. You can, pay the cost back to the bank, drop it down, and this turn you get to take an extra drain action, which could be super useful. And then lastly, you have the Marks of Soul. Now, a lot of those, you can spend these to then get these Gestalt cards, which generally have a ton of points at them. They have usually very devastating abilities, or in this case, this is just a lot of points for one card. So just 3 happiness, you get 3 points. But some of them have, for example, this. When you play this card, you can immediately spend this token to immediately play a card out of your hand without paying its cost. And it gives you 1 point. So that could be a really useful card that allows you to get up in the positive, but you also have to keep in mind that is an overall negative card. So you need to make sure that plays kind of with what you're trying to do. Now after everybody's done their turn, you're going to strike the clock 1 step forward, and once that reaches midnight, the game is then over. And that is how you play So Long My World. Now, this game has a bit for everybody, really. The game is pretty simple, pretty basic when you boil it down. If you're just playing a game like my cousin, for example, he plays games just mechanically. He doesn't really care too much about theme. He's playing a mechanical game. And if you're that kind of person, this kind of boils down to a set collection game. That's really what it is. You're trying to collect sets and trying to go to the right place, to get the right tokens, to play cards, to complete sets of good cards, bad cards, whatever. With a little bit of take that, but not a whole lot. But if you're playing this game for thematic reasons, then you're going to have a rich, very rich, flavorful, I think that's the right word, kind of game in your hands. Because for example, one of the cards, without spoiling too much, you kind of mentioned it in the very beginning, it's you're confronted with do you abandon your children but you get to do this, or do you stick with your children and try to calm them down, even though technically it's not going to matter here soon, but do you try to keep their last moments alive, calm, and with their mother or father or whatever, or do you but this happens, or do you abandon them because you really need these tokens? So you wind up having this really interesting mix of, do I do something really crappy because I really need these tokens, or do you not want to? But again, if you're playing mechanically, you're of course going to choose just what you want, but there's something there for you. So very much yes, if you're looking for a game that's going to kind of make you think a little bit and make you, instead of playing that card, you have to think, do I really want to play that card? I need this, but that makes me a terrible person kind of thing. It's a very interesting mesh of theme meets mechanics. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is just the overall aesthetic design of the game is outstanding. It's the same artist from Daimyo's Fall, if you remember me reviewing that one. It's the same designer, same artist, same everything. And I'm a huge fan of their artist, and this game is no different. But what makes this one stand apart from that is the only color in this game, aside from the feeling tokens and everything, are those 6 vision cards. Other than that, all of the cards you have in your hand are black and white. They're the same beautiful artwork, but they're black and white, and it kind of adds that just a really nice flair to the game that it really, I don't want to say really needs, but it really deserves is probably the best word. Anyways, I will have a link down in the description, take you directly over to that Kickstarter once it is available. Again, if you'd like to learn more about how to play the game, I will have a link up here, take you directly over to that video as well, teach you all the rules. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next time in the Quarantine.